It starts with a cup. One cup, left on the counter an inch from the dishwasher, and within 4 minutes, two people who love each other are raising their voices in a kitchen. If you could hear a recording of it afterwards, it would sound unhinged. Two grown adults, decibels climbing, over the correct way to rinse a plate. And an hour later, lying in the dark, you say the truest sentence of the whole evening. It wasn't about the dishes. You're right. It never is. Because once you see this pattern, you see it everywhere. It is not one couple in one kitchen. It is the same animal, wearing a different costume in every house on the street. The thermostat war, fought all winter in silent 2-degree raids. The voice that goes flat in the car when a turning gets missed, and the 10 miles of loaded silence that follow it. The fight about the text you didn't send when you said you'd be home by 8. It isn't about the text, but try saying so at 9:15. The phone that comes out at the dinner table, and the fork that goes down a little too loudly across from it. The wet towel on the bed. Say those 5 words to anyone who has ever shared a home, and watch them nod before you finish. The flatmate version runs on milk. A carton put back in the fridge with 1 sip left in it. Entire households have gone cold over that carton. Now hold all of those side by side, and notice the rule hiding in them. The smaller the object, the bigger the explosion. The worst fights of your life have been about cups, towels, degrees, and minutes. By any sensible logic, that is absurd. A teaspoon cannot carry that much voltage on its own. Something else has to be running through the wire. The easy answer is stress. You were tired, they were tired, the week was long. And that isn't wrong, exactly. It's just not the interesting part. Because notice who gets this from you. Not your colleagues, whose abandoned mugs you wash with saintly patience. The full voltage is reserved for the 2 or 3 people whose absence would hollow out your life. Which means the fight about nothing is not your bond failing. It may be your bond speaking. Hold that thought. We're going to earn it slowly. Start by rewinding to the moment before the cup. Not the counter. You. Underneath that evening, there was usually a week. A week of feeling like furniture in your own house. A sentence forming somewhere too deep to see. Something like, do I still matter to you? Now, feel the size of that sentence. Saying it out loud means handing someone your entire chest and standing there, open, while they decide what to do with it. And can be shrugged at. That's the terror. Say I miss you, get a distracted from someone stirring a pot, and part of you will still be standing in that kitchen years from now. But you never do the dishes. That sentence is safe. It's about plates. If it crashes and burns, you are only ever arguing about plates. So the hurt does what hurt has always done. It sends the anger out first, the way you'd send a bodyguard to the door, and it stays inside where nothing can shrug at it. Which makes every one of those little complaints a coded message. You left the cup out again decodes to, I feel like the only one holding this house up. The thermostat decodes to, whose comfort counts in this house. The where were you fight decodes to something almost unbearable. For 40 minutes, I sat here, rehearsing a world with you gone. And then you walked in smiling. And the phone at the dinner table decodes to 3 words. Look at me. Attachment researchers have a quiet name for all of this, protest behavior. When a baby's person turns away, the baby doesn't reason with them. It cries, it bangs the tray, it does whatever brings the face back. You never grew out of that machinery. You just lost the license to use it. So the signal drops an octave, the slam cupboard, the icy fine, the sudden passionate speech about dishes. Same cry, deeper voice. Watch it in slow motion, and it's almost tender. The slam door is a flare going up. Not I hate you. Closer to, find me, I'm further out than I look. But that only explains the heat. It doesn't explain the trivia. Of all the stages in a shared life, why does the big feeling keep booking the sink? First, because a cup is evidence. A feeling can be argued with. You're overreacting, you're too sensitive. The cup is right there on the counter. The case is airtight. Second, because the cup is daily. The deep fear only surfaces now and then, but the cup offers a fresh tally mark every single morning. Small things repeat, so small things keep the ledger. And third, because the small fight has walls. You can fight about dishes at 10 and be a family again at breakfast. Do you actually love me has no floor, and nobody wants to find out how far that one falls. So the heart does something almost elegant. It books the smallest available stage for the biggest question it has. Which is why, mid-argument, both of you are telling the truth. It isn't about the dishes, true. Then why are you shouting about dishes, also true? You're reading from 2 different scripts at once. Every escalating fight about nothing is 2 conversations happening in the same room. The audible one is about plates. The silent one is about matching. And each of you keeps answering the wrong one. That's why winning feels so strangely like losing. You can prove the point about the cup, watch them concede, and notice the loneliness that started it all hasn't moved an inch. It's also why sorry, I'll do the dishes sometimes makes things worse. The apology answered the audible conversation. The silent one is still sitting there, holding its question. And it's why the fight can end in laughter without ever being resolved. The moment someone answers the silent conversation, come here, I've missed you, the audible one evaporates mid-sentence. Nobody ever settles who is right about the rinsing. Nobody needs to. The people who watch couples for a living see this every single day. Researchers who film hundreds of arguments found something gentle hiding in the tapes. Most couples have the same fight, on a loop for decades. It never resolves because the subject was never the subject. Ask a couple married 40 years what they fight about and watch them smile. It's the towel. It has been the towel since 1985. Somewhere along the way, they learned to hear the question underneath it, and that, not the towel, is why they're still here. Children run the same pattern with no disguise at all. The toddler dissolving over the wrong color cup isn't fighting about the cup. The day was too big, the feelings were too big, and the cup was simply the only door small enough for them to fit through. The teenager's curfew war is rarely about the hour. Fought sentence by sentence up the stairs, it decodes to, am I someone you trust yet? The slammed door is its punctuation. Your own parents ran the code on you for years. All that relentless nagging about coats and jackets was never about the weather. It was the only dialect they had for, I can't bear the thought of you cold somewhere I can't reach. Because, and here the pattern turns over in your hands, the code doesn't only carry anger. It carries love the same way. Text me when you land. Did you eat? Call me when you're home. The plate of cut fruit that appears at your elbow at midnight, deep in the exam season of your life. Whole families have gone generations without saying, I love you out loud, and nobody ever doubted it, because it arrived daily, disguised as logistics. Which brings all of this to you, because you speak this language fluently in both directions, and you have for years. You have sent the coded message, heard yourself picking at something small, watch yourself do it from somewhere just behind your own shoulder, and been unable to stop, because the true sentence underneath was too naked to send. You have received it too. Stood baffled in front of anger the size of a weather system over a bin bag. You defended the object. You missed the message. You know that now. And some fights only translate themselves years later, on a random Tuesday. Oh, that was never about the parking. That was don't leave. The decryption can arrive a decade after the argument, and it still lands like news. You have also felt what happens when someone skips the object and answers the sentence. You're right. I've been distant lately. Come here. And the argument doesn't end so much as evaporate, like fog when a window opens. Even your apologies run on this code. Sorry arrives as tea made exactly how they like it, as the shelf finally fixed, as a favorite dinner appearing on the table without comment. And it is understood, without comment, every time. So here is the kinder reading of every stupid fight in this story. Nobody in your kitchen was petty. Two people stood in the safest dialect they could find, at the exact moment a feeling grew too big to hold in silence. That isn't smallness. That's engineering. The big door, say the fear out loud, open your chest, stand there, is simply too heavy for most evenings. So love uses the little door. The cup, the towel, the thermostat. Every household object that ever started a war was just the nearest door at the time. So the person needling you about the bins tonight is probably not doing battle over the bins. Underneath, in a voice too scared to speak plainly, they're asking whether they still matter to you. The tone is sharp because the question is frightened. And your own flare-ups over trivia are messengers too, arriving in work clothes. Underneath the irritation about the socks, there is usually a softer telegram, and it is usually addressed to someone you love. Somewhere in the last few minutes, a specific fight came back to you, didn't it? A specific cup, a specific towel, a voice, maybe yours, going up and up over something that could fit in one hand. And underneath it, readable now, a sentence. Maybe, I was drowning and you didn't notice. Maybe, I'm scared we're turning into housemates. Maybe just, look at me. Maybe it's a fight you're still half inside. So the next time voices start to rise over nothing, yours or theirs, some part of you will step back and hear it now. Somewhere under the noise about the cup, someone in the room is asking whether they matter. You won't always find a gentle answer in time. Nobody does. But you will recognize the question, and recognition changes the fight even when it doesn't stop it. Because the fight about the dishes was never about the dishes. It was love in its work clothes, standing at the smallest door it could find, knocking, and all it ever wanted was for someone to answer.